Hi, everyone. Megan here from Romance by the Book with the lovely Marielle.
Hello.
And our special guest this month is our Book of the Month author, Naima Simone.
Yippee lovely.
Hey, hello. We love you.
You
We
know I
read
love you
we
guys.
read Played, and it was so much fun. So I guess my first question is just like, why hockey? We know you've done sports romance before. You know, your WAG series is like one of my faves of all time. So what brought you to hockey this time?
Well, true story. I wrote a proposal and my agent like submitted it to Montlake, and at first it was football.
Okay.
I did football. Like, and if I
Yeah,
have questions about football, I have a whole football coalition in my
right.
in my family, right? So I did football. Mind you, I don't like sports, but that one I've done it before. I could do it again. And they loved the story, but they came back and were like, "Well, do you think you could change it to hockey?" Yeah, I don't know anything about hockey. I love hockey romance, thank you, El Kennedy, but I don't know anything about hockey at all. But I was like, sure.
Sure. It's like actors who say they can ride a horse, they cannot ride a horse. Oops.
What? I can't.
That's awesome.
Kate Meter did a firefighter series that like shifted into hockey at
Yes.
Chicago.
I
And
I love
I,
that series.
yeah, I was like, I have not seen that mix
Yeah.
before or since. So I was really happy to see.
Yeah. That was that it was like it's so funny that I wrote a book with two characters because I have made no bones about how much I don't like research. Like I don't like it. But I picked the two careers for my main characters that I know absolutely nothing about. So so I actually had to do research. And it was like interviewing, like I interviewed like a firefighter actually. Like, and a friend of mine, her best friend, like best friend of her husband is a firefighter. So he actually answered some questions for me. And my aunt is from Canada and her family are rabid hockey fans. Like
Mhm.
they fall out over it.
Yeah.
Like with each other if you're with the wrong team. Like they
Yeah.
fall out for real, like thick. And so her and Crystal Perkins, like they were just so generous with their knowledge and info. And so that's how I was able to write the career. Whew, it was research heavy.
Yeah.
But actually I'm shocked that I actually enjoyed it
Yeah.
because I like it. But maybe it was just because of the interview aspect or something.
Maybe. Also, that's really, they're very, I feel like firefighting is very like people think they know, but there's a lot, I'm sure, that's like technical and specific to like
Yes,
their lifestyle and the
absolutely.
way that everything runs behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That must
Yes.
have been interesting to learn.
It was but like for my book it was because she's like a black woman
Hmm.
in a fire department. I wanted to know like that aspect as well, so it was kind of like on two levels that I was doing the research because I can imagine how it is for a black woman in a career that's dominated by white men, but I'm not her. So talking to someone who's actually in that environment gave me a ton of insight. And he was just so just honest with it. So that was cool. And then having him give me like the break, because I had specific questions, even from, and I was like, listen, I'm a writer, so some of these questions are going to sound really weird, but what does a firehouse smell like?
Yeah.
So he gave me everything from them to what like the equipment, what they did from the time they stepped onto a scene. And then even insight of like what a career, like a long-term career is and what it should be and when you should get out and how you feel when you go into a fire. Like it was just amazing to be able to talk to
That's
someone
awesome.
who actually does it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have to tell you that there's a fire station at the like entrance to my neighborhood. And so I walk past there on my walks in the morning. And when I was reading, because I was reading, but also I was listening on the audiobook during
Yeah.
my walks, I would listen. And I a couple times was like, wonder what are you
Wonder
doing
who's
there?
hanging out in there.
Yeah. Did you walk slower past the
Yeah,
station?
yeah,
He
someone
was like,
try.
Sometimes they like play, like sometimes they'll be working on stuff in their little garage thing, but they also sometimes will be like playing out in front, and it
I'm
is kind of funny.
I'm coming to visit you and we could take daily
Yeah.
Yeah,
walks.
definitely can. Stroll, we'll stroll.
Yep.
Stroll leisurely when they have the fire hoses out or something. No, I'm just playing.
Oh, I was gonna ask you, is there like what makes a sports romance for you? Because I feel like there have been like a couple of basketball, lots of football, lots of I've seen some rugby ones,
Mhm.
and hockey obviously has kind of blown up here in the last little bit. But what for you? What makes a sports romance like really stand out?
Like for me, it's not even so much as like because I don't read sports romance to learn about the sport,
Mhm.
right? I don't need like whole byplays of games and I don't need a dissertation on the sport. To me, the sport adds to the book and to the characters. It's not just setting, it kind of is a character in a way because it shapes whoever, whether it's the male character or the female character who's the athlete, it shapes who they are and like I'm interested in how they came to the sport, who brought them to the sport, how it affects their psyche, how it integrates in their life. Does it interfere or like add to their relationship with the other main character? Like it's flavor. It's not like the story. And so
Gotcha.
that's because in any romance, I mean, always front and center, it has to be about the romance and the two characters. And that's why I'm there. I'm not there for the sport, but the sport definitely adds to the story and the characters.
I found that with this, and I think Megan and I talked about it, that there was like a celebrity aspect to it as well because he was a
Oh,
Like a
well-known
more
hockey
famous
player
player.
that
Yeah.
yeah,
people knew kind of like he had taken pains to make sure that his child wasn't
right.
featured
Exposed.
and stuff, but in like paparazzi or media coverage, but it definitely affected him and his life and the way that he I thought it was I thought it was kind of interesting too, like how quickly he was able to like when something became a problem, he knew exactly what to do, which your female main character then later was like, wait, that means no, you mean the fact that he knows what to do means that this is
He's
a
been through
hit.
this before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I like for me, and maybe it's just coming from my perspective because I'm not a huge hockey fan, but my husband watches a lot of ESPN, and so sometimes I have to watch by default. It's like for in that city, and it's of course like if you're a hockey fan, then these hockey players are celebrities to you.
Yeah.
You know, the same way if you're a football player, like if you're a football fan, football players are these huge celebrities to you. While for me, I don't watch football or anything. I wouldn't recognize
Right. Like you could sit next to somebody on a plane and have no idea.
wouldn't
Yeah.
know. Wouldn't know, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, hand me them peanuts that she
Right.
passing over. And so in his town, like, and for the fans of hockey, he's huge, right? But for her, it's like,
Yeah.
we football over here,
Right.
so
Right. Like
and
you're no Tom Brady. Okay.
right, right.
I could not have laughed more, I don't think, at the when she was like fully uninterested and unbothered, but her like blind date slash setup person was like
Was like
heart eyes
fanboying all over
in
himself.
the street. I'm like, oh dear.
That was
That
Yeah,
amazing. That whole family dinner scene was priceless.
I drew from like I drew from my family with that because they can be ruthless, like
Yeah, just busting
humor
on each other.
everything can be
That's so funny.
no filter,
Yeah.
none.
And I did love too that like while the brother was busting on like him, the hero, and also the prospective date, but then also his mom. Like, this is the guy you pick for her? Like, what are you doing? This is a fail.
They were looking at her like, traitor? Like,
Yeah.
is this what we doing now? We invited.
Equal opportunity teasing for sure. It's funny.
Yeah, I have fun writing that scene. I really did. Because it's like she was, I mean, because at some point we've all been embarrassed by our parents. And her, like, her mother means well by wanting to get her, like, to get back into love, into a relationship, and to just move on from the tragedy that she's experienced. But she's so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And to the point that she's like, 'cause one of the lines was, um, I only have appetite for mashed potatoes or this, and I can't do both. I
Right.
can't. So and she basically was willing to throw oh boy under the bus to keep the attention off of her. So
Yeah.
when Solomon stepped in to save them, she's looking at like, what the hell you doing?
Yeah.
Did you just fall on a grenade for this guy?
Right. Like, you
So
just took
funny.
it. They weren't even paying attention to you and you brought it right back.
Exactly.
Oh, it was so fun.
Thank you. I enjoyed writing that scene. I enjoyed the book, like, because it was different. And not just because it was hockey and firefighting. It was just a different vibe for me, this
Mhm.
book. It was everything from the characters to the dialogue to the setting. It was so different from everything that I was writing, and it was refreshing to write it. I had fun writing it. And then right after that, I wrote Churchgoer, and it was the same vibe. These were the most fun books I've written in like the last 2 years.
Oh, that's awesome. I will say that with this book, I thought it was, I don't want to be like, you're so brave, Naima, but also sometimes
It's like,
people,
why
when they
not? You
write,
can say
when
it.
people write grief into a book, or like someone who's lost someone, usually they write it and it's kind of like, well, it's over now. And he became like
Right. He's already
a
past
man
the
more,
heavy
and
grieving
now
part.
he's
Yeah.
got it out of his system and is ready for, but you wrote a book with people who were still kind of in the thick of it and trying
Yeah,
to like figure themselves out, and who really had to kind of figure themselves out before they could like
coming
actually
together.
be in a relationship
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
Which I feels tricky to me, like as a reader, I'm like, oh, this could have gone off the rails pretty easily.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that it was really like a special aspect of the book that you didn't like flinch from letting them be like messy and not finished and not like completely ready, maybe even to like jump into the next thing, but they still had to, they were going to lose it if they didn't figure it out, so they had to
Right. Right.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Like, and I love a widower
We know
story.
you do.
I do. It is my catnip. And just look, two things I love. I love a widower story and people who are absolutely not supposed to be together. Like, give me
Yeah.
your mother's boyfriend and your sister's ex and your
Right.
brother. So
Y'all
I
should go read Sin and Ink if you haven't, PS, if you like that.
Speaking of which,
so those are my sweet happy places to write a story. And this one was no different. Like at because I he had a son. It was just like all these, to me, a man who loves his wife and caters to his wife is so sexy.
yeah.
Like that, and as you know, that I mean, of course, I love Jason Momoa because hello, Jason Momoa. But like one of the things that made him so hot to me was the way he loved Lisa Bonet, like
Uh-huh.
unabashedly. There was this one picture I remember, like it was like a whole group of people, and he's turned and he's just looking down at her with this adoration. And I was like, man, you
Yeah.
are so hot. Like you are. And so writing a character like that
Yeah.
who adored his wife was I thought that was a huge part of his character. And if you love someone that much and not that much time has passed, it's not going to be easy to let go.
Yeah.
Even when people are telling you you need to be over it, but you have a child, and that can't be easy navigate helping that child with their grief, remember their mother, and still trying to deal with your own pain. And so I just wanted to write that story.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no, it was great. I also thought it was an interesting pairing of somebody who had a very supportive family and felt very much like she needed to do her things herself,
yes.
and then somebody who had gotten used to like having people like help
Hmm.
even when it wasn't what he
What
like,
he
to the
would have
point where
chosen.
it wasn't
Yeah.
even what serving him or what he really wanted
Right. They
anymore,
didn't
but
have
it was,
boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but he also didn't, it was like, I'm sure it was very helpful in the beginning, and then it
Right.
became like hard to, the way
Hard
it
to
read to me, it
backpedal
was
from
like
that.
where he got used to
Absolutely.
having and they got
Yeah.
used to being that role, and then it was
Right.
like really hard to
To separate.
unshackle.
Yeah.
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 Definitely. That's right. That's like right on the head because he wasn't blameless in their dynamic
Yeah.
because he leaned on, well, of course, after, his wife died, they leaned on each other
Yeah.
a lot. And having taken care of their grandson was a way to help alleviate some of that grief. And so he didn't put in those boundaries in the beginning, and then he relied on them a lot because he travels out of town a lot with his game. And then his father-in-law is the owner of the team.
Yep.
Right.
So like they're so enmeshed, like personally and professionally, that it's
Yeah.
like he wasn't setting those boundaries. And then when you have to, because they're interfering too much, and it's not out of and that's the thing, like that was another decision I had to make when I was writing a book. I didn't want to make mean bitter in-laws.
Yeah.
I just it's hard when they're still clinging on to their family because they lost their daughter, and this is like the remnants of their daughter, only their
Yeah.
daughter's like all that they have left of her. They weren't mean people, they were just hurting people.
Yeah.
And when you hurt, it's like you cling on to whatever you need like tighter in order to have some semblance of normalcy, and that's what they were doing. But he had to separate it because otherwise it was affecting him professionally, and it doggone sure was affecting him personally.
Yeah. Well, and I felt like he
And it
handled it
wasn't good
so
for his
well
kid
because,
either, which, you know, sorry, I was gonna say it
oh,
wasn't good for
sorry,
his,
we must have like cut each other off. Yeah, I think he handled it so well in the meeting where he did, set boundaries because he was like, "Look, like you don't have to be my boss. Like I can go play for a
Yeah.
different team, and we'll just
Right.
that part will just be gone. Like then
Right.
that way you can't manipulate me that way. Like you cannot bring personal into work, and if you're going to,
Right.
I'm just not going to be part of your work anymore." And that was very like clear without being ugly, like just
Right.
like this is what I will do if you think that this is okay because I'm not gonna have it like this.
Right. Right.
And yeah, I thought that was really good because he is doing what he's doing, playing hockey. Like there's plenty of other places he could go play hockey. He
And
doesn't have to be
he's
on that
very
team.
good at it.
Yeah.
So
And so that was like an easy way to like cut off one avenue of, what they were horning in on basically
right.
by just like being like, I just won't be here anymore.
Right. And we could just be family, but those
Right.
boundaries are still gonna go up. Cause
Yeah.
like you said, I'm a man at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you're gonna treat me like one.
Right. And
well, and
and
also
I'm the
like, this
dad.
is my family, because mainly, there was a lot of like, I'm doing this for my child and for my family, but if it's not actually serving the family or his
Right.
child or himself, then there's got to be changes made. But the only people who were like benefiting from the arrangement were the
The
in-laws,
in-laws. Yeah.
Right.
because they were getting to like, look at this kid whose eyes look like his mommy's eyes, and like,
Right.
and kind of pretend, I guess,
Yeah. That
that,
it was a way to pretend that she wasn't gone almost, that they had
yeah,
her again. And he had to, another reason he had to like he had to set boundaries and kind of loosen the ties, not break them, was because they were interfering with how he was raising his son too.
Right.
Like
mhm,
Khalil didn't have three parents, he had one,
Right.
yeah,
and they were the grandparents, and he had to
stick to their,
back into that
yeah,
role. Yeah.
right,
You did have a scene that kind of mirrored in the beginning and in the end of the book where he like comes back from like a stretch where he's been away for work,
right,
comes back, goes to pick up his child to go home. He's tired, he wants to go sleep in his own bed. And it's very like, oh, but he's already asleep and here we made you a plate and you might as well just stay here.
right.
And the first time he's got the like, oh, I don't want
I
to
don't
stay
want
here,
to. Yeah.
but
Right.
he still goes
Does.
with it because of course they're being kind and it's not, they don't mean anything by it and it's fine and it might as well. Like it's easier to just go with it.
Right. It's
But
easier.
then when that like situation comes back again, it's like you can see where he has realized that like, oh no, this actually is kind of manipulative. It is
Yeah.
kind of like
It's
I
too
need to
pushy,
be
too
able to
far.
make a choice
Yeah.
myself.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely right. And I didn't do that on purpose. And I didn't realize it until you pointed it out. So thank you. I feel like
Subconsciously brilliant,
Yes.
I
Naima.
didn't realize it. I was like, yeah, I did, didn't I?
You did. Yeah, it's same with, I mean, with your heroine too. Like she's got a family who is right there, ready to
Right.
help her, ready to
Literally.
fight, and she's just like, but I should do it myself though, right?
Right.
And so to like learn the balance of like, yes, you're a grown up, you make your own decisions, but also like,
They're
They're
here
here.
for you.
yeah,
Yeah, they're here for you, right? And I know some people, because even like when I, in editing, like my editors and I like discussed it, like how to do that because she has this support system and it's huge and it's strong, not just family and personal, but literally right there in the
within
station
the,
with her because she works in
Yeah.
the same station as her father and her brother. So when she's coming up against this harassment, it's like she could have easily just, told them. But being who she is,
yeah,
she wanted to stand on her own because to her, women, especially Black women in this field, if you complain, if you show that you have any weakness, it's like then you're given into the stereotype of you're
Right.
not built for this job. You're not strong
Right. Then
enough
you're the
for the job.
problem. Yeah.
Exactly. And she felt like she could handle it. She, on her own, she didn't want to run to her brother and her father. And also, they were already still very overprotective because she had just, she had lost her fiance a little while ago. So she felt smothered in a way, and to her, this was standing up on her own 2 feet, handling her problem without making it like a fire station problem. Because again, it would force people in the station to kind of like take sides as well. And she didn't want that. She didn't want to be seen as the problem. And it's often in society when a woman speaks up, when a woman stands her ground and demands respect, she's seen as problematic and aggressive
Hmm.
and complaining. And so she didn't want that. And
I
she didn't even tell her friend.
Yeah.
there were parts, there were like moments in the book where I wondered if she would have reported it if it wasn't like her family and
If
her
her
like
family didn't work in the
godfather
same.
and her,
Right.
but then it wasn't really like, it was more complicated than that because
Yeah,
she also
absolutely.
felt like, and that jerk, like he played right, like he
Right.
would poke right at those spots of
Yeah.
like, you're gonna tell them and then what, because
Right.
you don't belong here and all of that, that like
Right.
all of her fears, he knew exactly
Yeah,
where to
he
poke
knew
at it.
what to say to like just keep punching in the doubt and uncertainty because
Yeah.
he's been around longer than her and she's not stupid. Her family has been in firefighting together like over 30 years. So she's seen what happens. She knows what the culture is.
Yeah.
And even though that station is like a family kind of, or it's
Affair.
it's like a family dynamic, but even after he had like they did like some training and he was real harsh on her,
Hmm.
instead of people going to him and saying, "What's your problem?"
Yeah.
They came to her and said, "What's the problem?"
Right.
Like, and she's
Right. Like
thinking,
she's having to explain it, even though she's not the one that did it. Yeah.
exactly. It's like the onus is not on me to tell you. I don't have the problem. He does, but you're coming to me. And it
Yeah.
just like it just nailed home like everything he was saying and why she wasn't speaking up.
Yeah.
because
Yeah, and even though I fully like thought, I mean, it's her brother, so of course he's gonna ask her what's going on
Right.
before he like
yeah,
goes and beats this man up.
Yeah.
But still, it reinforced what she was feeling anyway.
Yeah.
It made me think I saw this clip of some interview with 50 Cent. And somebody said to him, like, people think you're a bully because you're, and he said, yeah, but people don't look at like what happened before I reacted. They only look at the reaction.
right,
And it did
right,
feel like a similar vibe to what was going on with her. Like she knew that.
absolutely.
I saw a meme the other day and it was like, oh, I'm a bitch. Did you miss the part where I was nice and still trying to be nice and then I was a bitch?
Okay,
Because that's what happened.
that's it right there. Like that describes the whole scenario, like
Yeah.
right there. She did try to be. She wasn't at first. She was nice because as women, we know that when a man there's a chance, like if a man hits on you, there's a chance he's not going to react very nicely to you and your God-given right to turn him down. Like
Yeah.
you'll be called like a bitch or out your name or
Yeah.
even attacked. It's not unheard of.
Yeah.
And so she was nice at first, but when he was still like coming after her and harassing her and denigrating her, it's like, yeah, I tried this nice thing. Let me tell you what I really think.
Yeah.
And then, but
And
it was
even then, it wasn't everything she thought, just like
no, it
some
wasn't
things.
everything. She was still holding back, but in that last time, she was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, yeah, I've this is not going away."
Yeah.
And so she had to make the decision. And again, another reason she didn't tell her family is because she knew they would force her to make that decision, and
Right.
she had to do that step on her own because that would have been like taking away her power to address it and to
Yeah.
fix it. So she had to come to that step on her by herself, even though she told them about it later after she had come to the decision to go ahead and report him. But she
Yeah.
had to get there.
You did a thing that I really love when authors
I love
do
when a
can
sentence
do it.
starts like that.
And where like, well, I like it when I like it very much when I am sitting reading and I am like, oh, you are making him worse. You're making him think you're letting him get away with it. And then she was like, I'm letting him get away with this. And I was like, that's right. Like I was so pleased.
It was so satisfying.
Yes, it was very satisfying to see her also come to that conclusion. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't that somebody else had to tell her or that but like eventually she realized, like, oh, like I feel like I'm handling it, but really I'm just letting him keep
Just letting him do
doing
whatever
the
he
things.
wants.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's like she didn't need somebody else to give her a come to Jesus moment. She had it herself with Jesus. Like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. Jesus came to her.
Right. She's like, if I want to handle this myself, I need to actually handle it and not just
yeah,
feel that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of just like kicking the can down the street, like I need to
Yeah.
just like handle this once and for all because this gonna be my house and I'm gonna feel comfortable in my house and doing my job. Because towards the end, he put her life in danger
Yeah.
Yeah.
over like because he was being a bitch. Like
Yeah.
he put her life in danger and broke a cardinal rule of firefighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she was like, "Mm-mm, you're
So
not
she
gonna
was
take my
right to
life."
be scared about how he would
Yes,
react to something. But
yeah,
yeah.
The thing
So
that was interesting to me is that you have both characters kind of dealing with a similar, like it's different situations, but a similar thing of having to like do the thing that's uncomfortable because like yes, it's easier to let this situation continue, but actually it's harming me if I keep
right.
like I've got to do the thing that sucks right now so
yeah.
that it'll be better
Be
later.
happy later. Right,
And
right.
like a lesson that definitely they needed for their relationship, but that they had to learn it like on their own.
Separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Very nice.
yeah.
So will we see
Have
any
me going
more in
like
this
this all
world?
day. I'm gonna be like this.
Like I'm the best. Will we see any more in this world? Like maybe Noni, because she was great.
I so enjoy writing her. So enjoy writing her. And then I listened to the audio and I was like, the lady who did her was just so funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I absolutely do not know. This was like a one-off book for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think because it was like a one-off book is another reason I might have had a lot of fun with it.
Right.
I didn't have to think about another book coming down the line. It's like I can pretty much do everything I want and then, you know, not have to worry about what's coming later. And then
Right.
only thing I got to worry about is
Then
the
it
editor being
picks
like,
up.
hey, dial that back. But fortunately, they never said dial that back. So,
Nice.
so yeah. So no, I don't know. I don't know. Could be not right now.
Okay.
I was just telling you
Keep
that
it
I
in your
just
back
go
pocket.
look to see if there was a series or if it was standalone because I was like, "Ugh,
I'm like, Noni was
there's
so
options.
fun.
Yeah, she was fun to write. That's the
And so
girlfriend.
was her brother.
Yeah.
Like
Yes. Oh yeah,
you had
absolutely.
several people in that I was like, what's
What could happen
what's
here?
going on here?
Like I think it's because I've been writing series for so long that it's kind of like almost innate to write other characters that you
Yeah.
wouldn't mind writing about. And
Hmm.
then some of them just come to life like that as you're writing. You didn't even intend to. And it just, like the his teammate who talked to him on a plane. It's like
Yeah.
I was, man, I could think of what could happen with him and
Yeah.
definitely Oni, like yeah. So I think it's just like kind of habit now to
Yeah.
do. So if something does happen, I have plenty of people to pick from the
Yeah.
book. Yeah. Yeah,
I think as a romance reader, that's also a thing that like
Yeah.
I'm like
You're like, who's next?
habituated to like go look and see. But it's
Yeah.
fun when it's the standalone too, because then
Hmm.
it's just like this is the story. This is it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I will say that's why I enjoyed it. Right. I was
And
like,
Church Girl is standalone too, right? Like that one's also its own
Church
book.
Girl?
Yeah.
Yes. But I am writing like in a couple of months I'll be starting the another book that's in that world, but it is a complete standalone. And I got my author copy, so if you guys want me to mail you one, I will.
Yeah. Kind of a question is that.
Yes.
You can
You know
I
the
think
answer to that.
yeah,
Yeah. Ha.
and then
Um,
I think you'll pick up on who the next book is going to be
yeah,
about. But yeah, but definitely I
exciting.
will send y'all a copy. Like because I just like
You
my
have them.
two
Oh, so
I
pretty.
wrote
They're
last
so
year.
pretty. I do love the stained glass on that Church Girl cover.
Yeah.
I do
Wow.
too. I was so excited about seeing the cover. They were, especially when they asked, we're gonna do an illustrated one. Are you good? Am I? Yes, yes. And then when they sent me the first sketch, I was like, oh my God, y'all got his cornrows, the stained glass. I'm like, I'm
That's
so
nice.
excited about this. I am so excited
I have
about
to say,
that.
it's one of the better illustrated covers that I've ever seen. I
Me
have my
too.
own feelings about those, and they're not always positive, but that cover is beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I was really, really praying it was like one, like I showed it to actually my cousin and my son because they're both like artists, and both of them said the same thing. It's illustrated, but it's almost like graphic art. So
Mhm.
that's why they liked it. And then when they said it, I was like, yeah, it's true. It looks like it could be out of a graphic art novel. And so
Yeah.
that's another reason I loved it. Like they really did their thing on that. And I was like, yes.
So that book is coming out next, right? That's the next
Yes,
release.
November 26th. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Exciting.
last week, Sophie Jordan was on and she recommended it because apparently she's already read it and fallen in
Yeah.
love with
Oh,
it.
because I might have sent her
Um,
because every time she has a release, she sends me a book in ARC, and I'm like, what did I do to deserve this kind of generosity and goodness? Because every
it's a
time
good
she
egg.
does, I'm like, oh my God. And so when I got mine, I was like, shoot, I'm gonna repay the favor. So I messaged
Yeah.
her and said, would you like one? She was like, what kind of question is that?
Yeah.
See,
So when I saw, I didn't even know she read it yet. Like I was just sending it to her because she sends me all her wonderful books. And I was like, let me send her mine and pray that she loves it. And
Yeah.
when she reads it, I didn't know she when, but when I saw like you posted the quote, I took a screenshot of it. And I
That's awesome.
it's all love in these streets.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So and then right now you're working, we know you have your first release with Bramble coming up too. Can you say anything
yes.
about that?
The first release that's coming from Bramble is I want to say next August.
Okay.
I think that's what they changed it to next August. And the name of it is, because I haven't said the name of it yet. Okay, so you're hearing it first. The name of it is The Huntsman,
Okay.
because it's based off of Snow White and the Huntsman.
Okay.
And it's a fairy tale, reimagining, of course. And it's like mafia organized crime, sort of, because they're not really mafia. I would say organized crime,
Okay.
but it revolves around the princesses. So it's really, so she's like Snow White, but she's
Baddest Snow
bad.
White you ever saw.
Oh my God, she's such a badass. There's unaliving, there's drugging, there's stalking, there's
Dark
fighting.
romance.
Yeah. And then there's hot bloodletting sex.
All right.
I will say there's blood play in like chapter 2.
Oh my gosh.
No
Y'all heard
slow
it here
burn
first.
for us.
That's
I
amazing.
just I was like, oh well, they'll tell me no.
Right? Right. Like let them tell you. Don't censor
That's
yourself first.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I sent it to Jenny. I sent it to Jenny Norback because I was like, if I'm going to do it right, like if I'm doing this right, or if I'm doing something wrong, or that's going to be like inappropriate, harmful, whatever, she'll tell me.
Yeah.
So I emailed her and asked her, would you read this scene for me to let me know if it's sounds, authentic
Mhm.
and just right, if it's, on point. And she read it, and the feedback she gave me, I was
Yeah.
like, she loved it. So I was like, I'm on the right track. And not only did she love it, she loved the character, which made me feel even better
Awesome.
because the heroine is a little off.
Oh no, that's
That
funny.
sounds fun. I'm like,
Yeah, I have fun writing it. I really did. I have fun writing it because it was just like take the wheels off.
yes. Nice.
I have to say that I think it's really fun that you're like, they'll tell me no, and then just no one ever does.
Right, right, right. Either
You're good.
either like they're just like, we'll see how it shakes out, or to be like,
Yeah.
or they're like, oh, I really like this. Okay, go with it. But no, nobody has told me no. So
Awesome.
yeah. So I'm like, I'm taking it and
Love
riding with
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. That's funny. So I know you've been on with us before and we've asked you this before, but I was curious if it's still true or if it's changed. But what is your favorite trope to read right now?
Okay. My favorite trope to read right now, it's still like it's what I love to write. It's like all the forbidden romance. Like if
Yeah.
you should not be, if society says morally you should not be together, I want you together.
Yeah.
I want to read about that story. And like I just finished this book called Dro by Neek Mills, and it was so good. It was because it's like urban fiction romance, and so it's like it's like a mafia family, like organized crime, but it's like the setting is gritty, but it's elegant. And the heroine comes from this background where she should be cowed, like she should be like broken, but she's not, because she's taken in by her aunt and uncle when her parents were killed in a car accident. And she's been raised in a whorehouse. And then her uncle finds out, he's trying to sell her. And then the hero steps in and buys her to save her. He also has his baby's mother and fiance in his house though at the time. And he brings her there, and it's like a mess, and it's so good. But it's like that scenario, but you're like, how can this possibly be romantic? And it's like, oh my God, it is so damn romantic and passionate. I
Made me think of
absolutely
Jane
love
Eyre
it.
with the wife
Yeah.
and
Right?
eunuch.
Oh, right, right. And she's tripping, and he's looking at her like, look, she's here for reasons. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if
For
I'm
reasons
her,
she's
really,
not gonna like.
I would trip too. Yeah, I see why she got reason to trip, but because I'm in this book, I'm like, girl, she don't want your man. They did end up together. She saw it
Yeah.
coming down the track, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was so wrong, but it was so right. Like situation was so wrong, but it was just so right. I absolutely love that book. Absolutely loved it. So that's the kind of things that like I love reading right now. If it's messy, give me messy and angsty and like so wrong that is so right. That's what I want.
Love it.
Love it.
I guess also my question that I usually ask is if we were a fly on the wall while you're in the middle of your writing process, what would we see?
This.
And a little dog.
Yeah, and a little dog tearing shit
Oh,
up.
dog running around tearing shit up. Yeah. Oh, sorry, stuff up. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you would see. I swear, that's me right now. I'm like, what do I want to do now? Oh
Yeah.
God.
I guess they'll tell me if I can't do this.
I know that, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. That's pretty much what I'm doing. Like I am writing like the second dark romance, and it's the Cinderella, like it's based on Cinderella, and the book started out one way, and then I had a conversation with someone, and their reaction to what I was getting ready to, oh, was it going to be this? And I was like, no, it's not going to be that. But then when I got off the phone with, I was like, damn, should it be that? So then I reworked the whole book to be that. And I
Oh
was like, her reaction was so visceral. I was like, damn it.
no.
I wish I
Is
never
that
talked
when
to
you
you.
have friends who like do something like that? Is that's when they make it in the acknowledgments? You're like, and this person who was like had a
Absolutely.
conversation with me and changed my whole idea.
She's so going in the acknowledgments. I don't know whether to cuss her out or thank her. I don't know.
You're like, there was more work, so thanks.
It was a ton more work, but her reaction was so automatic. She gasped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hated to tell her, no, that wasn't where I was going. And
Yeah.
I was like, it should be where I'm going. Like for 2 weeks, I refused to start it over because I was just too far in the book. I'm not doing it. But then it just wouldn't leave me alone. So I went back and changed it. And it's a lot to change. I had to change the whole thing because
Yeah.
No.
I do like the story better. Damn her.
Damn it.
Keep your mouth shut next time. No.
That's right. That's right. Let me finish. Don't be jumping in asking questions. Let me finish.
It would have been worse if you had already finished and then had to
Oh
go back
my
and write it.
God, I know. I know. If I'd have finished that book, I'd have been like, sorry,
You'd be like, never mind, too late.
staying exactly like this unless they tell me differently. It stayed exactly like this.
Oh, that's
Except
When
in the
I write
developmental
begin,
edits, she's like,
begin.
"Ugh."
You're like, where were you a month ago? That's what I wanna know.
Exactly. Exactly. Why did you ask me about this book like a month ago why are you asking me this now?
Funny. Oh my
Big
gosh. Naima, we love you so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming on with us. We
Can't
always
wait to
love
see
having
y'all in
you.
February and I can just
Yeah.
hug y'all.
Oh, we can't wait for our cruise. So
I
excited.
know.
It's gonna
Oh
be
my
fun.
gosh. Everyone, if you haven't read Played, you should grab it right now. Also, if you like the more forbidden aspects of things, definitely go back to something like Sin and Ink, which is always a
Good to
banger. It is a banger
Football,
of
you
a
got
book.
the whole WAG series.
Oh, the WAG series. You know how I feel about those boys. And
yeah.
yeah, just everything about her is amazing, obviously. So just go for it.
I know, yeah, I do. I love you.
Thank you so much. And everybody will see you next
You.
month.
Bye.
Bye.